Hi, CompSci 201 Section 60 students. This is Professor Al Arsenault with the recorded lesson for Wednesday, the 18th of September, 2024. As mentioned, I'm not in Maryland right now, so we will not meet in class. We're going to walk through this lecture online. Okay, so going through the slides, which are posted on GitHub, the quick reminder is that homework 2 is out. It is entirely based on conditionals, if else, if else. You should have no problem. If you do, ping me by any, however you need me. Let's go back to lists. We talked about some things on Monday. On Monday, we talked about how to create lists, how to add items to the list, and how to remove items by value from your list. Now we want to go into some additional list functions. First of all, we don't have to create an empty list. Remember that we could create an empty list by simply saying something like this: grocery list blank, and that creates an empty list. We could also, sorry, I left out the equal sign. That's the assignment. We need that. We could also take an alternative approach, and we could create the list. If we know the values ahead of time, we could create them simply by saying the following: grocery list equals a list of milk, eggs, strawberries, apples, cereal, cheese. And now we have a list. If we print this out, and we'll also print the length of grocery list. And we will run this. And to make sure it runs correctly the first time, we'll go to run. Let's see, make sure I get the right things. Here we go. Okay, as we said, we will run this program, and we'll make sure we're running the right one. And we can see now that we've actually created the list with the date, with the data we typed in, and it has a length of 6, so it works correctly. So the difference is, on Monday, what we talked about was creating an empty list and adding items. And today we're giving you the alternative that you can create the list with the data already in there. If you already know the data, this is useful. In general, it's probably not going to be something this common that you'll commonly do in Python, but you generally can. And this is the print and the print length are just to check it out. Now, we talked on Monday about removing an item by its value, and that's with the remove method. But remember, if you try to remove an item that's not there, your program will crash. We don't want that. So in that case, we use an if and we use an in. If milk in grocery list, then grocery list dot remove milk. Okay. And of course we can run this and show that we've now removed milk from the list, and in fact it has 5 members. What if we want to remove an item not by value, but by where it is in the list? What if we just want to remove the first item in the list? To do that, we use the method called pop. So, grocery list dot pop 3. That will remove the third element in the list. Now, it will also make that element available to you if you want to print something out. So, for example, we could say something like value equals grocery list dot pop sub 3. This removes the item and it stores it in value, and now we can print out the value. Now when we run the program, what we discover is that the value that was at 3 is gone, we discover that the value that was at index 3 in the list, which is cereal, is gone. This cereal is printed out as a result of this statement right here, print value. Value takes the third item from the grocery list, prints it out, and then the remaining list is eggs, strawberries, apples, and cheese, because of course we've already removed milk with the remove statement, and we popped the value out, the value cereal out, using the pop statement, and that printed out. Now, what if we wanted to delete more than one item? We could use multiple pop or remove statements, and that certainly works. But we also have the del statement. Okay, and the syntax for that is simply this: del grocery list from 1 to 3. When we run that program, we discover that we are left with a list of eggs and cheese. Cereal, once again, comes from print value, which is still in our program. Then we removed 2 items from the list. 2 items, I'll explain that. Okay, here's the syntax. Let me type this in. Remove 2 items from the list. The syntax. This is important. When you say this, grocery list or any list value from 1 to 3, the first number is the first element you delete. So in other words, the first element gone is grocery list sub 1. Now the second number, contrary to many people's opinions, and this is a common mistake to make, is not the last element deleted, the second number is the first item left. It is the index after what you delete. So when you say delete 1:3, then in fact what happens is you delete item number 1, and you delete item number 2, and you do not delete item number 3. You keep item number 3. So this statement here actually gets rid of only 2 items, only element number 1 and only element number 2. Element number 3 is there, and that's why we saw the output. This leads in to something in the slides that talks about list slicing. List slicing says take a large list and select only a subset of the items. Okay? Now, what I have done here is very quickly inserted a statement where I have a list. The list is called states, and the elements of the list are the 50 states of the United States in alphabetical order. Okay, starting with Alabama, Alaska, and going on through Wyoming. There are 50 elements. Suppose I want to print out only the first 10 states, or I want to create another list, a sublist of only, the first 10 states alphabetically. What I'll do is I'll use list slicing, and I will say early states is going to be a new list. It's going to be taken from the list states from the beginning to 10. Now let's talk about the syntax here. Oh yes, and of course I want to print early states to verify that this works. Okay, so let's run this and then I'll explain it. And you can see that we print out the first 10 states. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Connecticut is 7, 8, 9, 10. The first 10 states are printed out. Okay. What is the syntax? Again, just as with delete, what's in the square brackets is the determinant of how many elements are included. If there is no number before the colon, you start at 0. You start at index 0. That is, start at the beginning of the list. And the second number, in our case 10, is the index of the first list element not included in the slice. So in other words, the slice takes 0, takes states element sub 0, because there's nothing before the colon, so you start at 0, states 1, and on through states 9. Okay. Do not include states 10. That is the first item not included in the slice. Slice, not slice. So the next slice would be next states equals states sub. Now I will start at 10. I don't want to start at 11. If I start at 11, I'm going to miss a state. So I want to start at 10 and I'm go to 20. 10 to 20 will get me states sub 10, sub 11, sub 12, sub 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. I will not get states sub 20. Let's run this program to verify it. Okay, and you'll notice now we get Hawaii, which is the next state after Georgia. This is states of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Maine is 18, Maryland is 19. It does not include states of 20, which is Massachusetts. So this is called list slicing. List slicing means take a subset of a list and do something with it. In this case, copy it into a new list. It could mean deleting it. It could mean anything else. Let's switch to the slide. And you see in the slides, this is what I've done. Here's my list that I took. If you wanted to play around with it, you could just copy and paste this list. How do you get the first 10 states? You take states sub 0, or you can leave out the 0, through 10. States 21 through 30. Now, let me be clear. I want the 21st state in the list. The 21st state in the list is that at states sub 20. So I do 20 through 30. The last 20 would be 30 to 50 now, or 49 actually. You slice the list using subscripts. As I mentioned, if there is no first number after the colon, you start at the beginning. If there is no last number after the colon, you go all the way to the end. So list slicing, I can take the first 10 elements, list the 21st or sub 20 element through 30, I do this. The last 20, I do through this. Okay? Now, interestingly enough, of course, I can go from minus 20. Remember, the last element of the list is always minus 1. We can go count the other direction with negative numbers. So Wyoming is negative 1, Wisconsin is negative 2, West Virginia is negative 3. Why does that work? That works because the next to last list element is length minus 2. We can be lazy and throw away the length and just say minus 2. So Wyoming's minus 1, Wisconsin's minus 2, and so on. So if we print through minus 20, that'll do it. Okay, you give the list variable name, square brackets, hold the subscripts, the elements you want, colon in between the two subscripts. If there is no first subscript, start at the beginning. If there's no last subscript, go to the end. You can use negative numbers, just as we did. So it's hard to read on this slide, but on this slide we went from negative 20, that is 20 before the end, to the end. We did not have to know how many states there were. If somebody decides to add Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico as states, and now there's 52, and we still just want to print out the last 20, this same statement will now work. Okay? Remember, you start counting at 0. The element at subscript 20 is the 21st element in the list. The second is where you stop. You do not get element 30. Okay? And so that's an example of list slicing. That's something that we've done, that we can do to manipulate data in lists, and this is just a fundamental part of Python. Okay. From lists, now we're going to segue over and we're going to talk about strings. So I'm going to pause the video while I set up PyChart. Okay, now resuming the video. No need in forcing you to watch me create new files in PyChart. What we're going to do is some string-related coding. Here's a simple fact. Strings are not lists, but you can do many of the same things with strings that you can do with lists. You cannot change the value of a string variable. You must reassign. What does reassign mean? If I have the value college equals Purdue University, I am no longer at Purdue. I will reassign college equals UMBC. This is reassigning the variable, not changing the value. Remember that strings like integers and floats and booleans are immutable. The value of a string cannot be changed after it's assigned. What happens is you do a reassignment using a statement like this, an equal sign, an assignment. This causes a new memory location to be assigned, and it's basically a whole new variable. So for example, I will print ID of college here, and then again down here I will print ID of college. And now when we run the program, you can see that when college was Purdue University, it's at this location in memory, 4,308,555,056. After I reassign it, it has a totally different location in memory. That is because it's not the same, as far as Python's concerned, it's not the same variable. It was an immutable variable. I can't change the string. I can reassign it and create essentially a whole new variable that just happens by coincidence to have the same name and throw the other one away. That is the reason for the difference between what you can do with strings and what you can do with lists. Let's start by talking about things you can do with strings that look like lists. Can you calculate the length? I'm going to comment out a few things up above because I don't need them anymore. There we go. So college equals UMBC. Can you calculate length? Yes, of course you can. Print length of our string, college. Let's run this program. And we know that college is UMBC. Let's make that explicit. Let's run this. And you can see that the college is UMBC and its length is 4. Strings have lengths exactly like lists. The length of a string GTH of a string is the number of characters in the string. Can it be 0? Yes, of course it can. Print the length of the empty string. Okay? The length of the empty string is a string that has 0 characters in it, and we can see that the length of the empty string is 0. This is a string with 0 characters, and so the length is important. Can we slice a string? Can we reference an individual letter in a string? And the answer is yes, we can. We can't change it, but we can reference it. Print college sub 0. College sub 0 is the first letter. I'm going to comment this line out. College sub 0 is the first letter in the string UMBC, and so you can see obviously that the first letter in the string UMBC, college sub 0, is a U. Okay, can we slice a string? What if we say print college, start from the beginning and go all the way to the last character, -1. Do not print the last character. Let's run this, and you will see that print college from 0, the first one, Do not print -1. Do not print the last letter. The last letter in the string is a C, so we print UMB. This is the result of this statement. This is called string slicing. And just like list slicing, it's a way of accessing some of the characters in the string. But we cannot change anything. Here's a list. College list equals the list of UMBC, College Park, Johns Hopkins, and Towson. College, the name of the school I go to, is going to be UMBC. I can change the list. So what I'll do is I will print college list, and I will print college. Okay. So just run this to make sure it works. And you can see that I printed my college list, UMBC, College Park, Johns Hopkins, Towson. That's from print college list. UMBC prints the string from college. Now, to go on and illustrate, I can change the list. I can say college list sub 1 is now equal to Salisbury. Print college list. Let's run this again. And you'll see that here was my previous list. Here is my current list. And I have changed the value of a list. Why? Here's those words again. Because lists are mutable. The value of the variable can be changed. It is mutable. I can change the list. I cannot change the string. Okay? College sub 2 equals H. I'm trying to change the name of UMBC to UMHC, University of Maryland in Harford County, Howard County, Hazard County, I don't care. I'm trying to change the name of the school by changing the string. When I run this, what happens is I get an error. Exit code 1 indicates an error because I cannot change this value here. Okay? Notice I don't get UMHC. If I run it again, I get the error message. The error message was swallowed up last time. Here is the explicit error message that occurs. You cannot change the value of a string. You can reassign. Okay, you can reassign a string by saying college equals UMHC. That would work. I comment that out. I can say college equals UMHC and then run this program, and that would work. But I haven't changed the string, I've reassigned it. Reassign a variable means simply throw the old one away, create a new variable which by coincidence happens to have the same name, but it's a total new location in memory, it's a totally new value, it is a change. Okay? The reason I can do this with strings, with lists rather, the reason I can change lists and I cannot change strings is that lists are mutable and strings are immutable. And that's an important thing. So the rest of the lecture is a set of functions I can do with strings that I need to cover. Okay? Strings are not lists. Strings are sets of 0 or more characters treated as unitary items. You can do some of the same things. Basically, you can start counting indices at 0. You can you can access individual elements of the string. You can't change them, but you can access them. You can do a string slice. In works in a string just like it does in a list. You can determine if the string has any letters A by using in. Is A in string var? Okay. Append and insert do not work. They would require change. Append and insert can't work with the string because they would require the value of the string to change, and that would mean strings would have to be mutable, they're changeable, and they're not. You can't do that. You can reassign it, but that's it. Remove, pop, and delete. Cannot do that with strings. Lists, yes. Strings, no. The reason is remove, pop, and delete, just like append and insert, would change the value of the string, and you cannot do that. Okay? Now, there are some operations that we can do with strings and lists that we want to talk about, and we're going to specifically talk about split and strip. Okay, so first we're going to start with split. There are two functions that are almost opposites, split and join. And I'm going to say they're almost opposites because they're not completely opposite. Okay. Split takes a string and returns a list. Join takes a list of strings, it has to be a list of strings, and returns a single string. Split cuts up the string on a character you define. By default, white space, blanks, tabs, new lines. Okay? My string equals every once in a while a good thing happens. This is a string. What if I want to split that string up into a list of strings? The way I do that, I'm creating a list variable. So I will call it my string list equals my string dot split. I will not tell Python what to split on. I will simply say, okay, split on the default, which is white space, which is every space. Now let me print this out and explain exactly what's going on. Okay, here is what we're talking about. Ignore the other output that's in the previous parts of this program. Okay, my string list is a list, note the square brackets, note the commas separating the elements. What happened was Python began reading the characters, E, V, E, R, Y. Now it hit a blank space. So the first element is every. Now we hit a blank space. This is key. The blank space is thrown away. Notice none of these strings have any blanks in them whatsoever. The blank space is thrown away. The next element in the list is once. The next element after that is in, and so on. So this is a way of taking a sentence and splitting it up into words. Okay? This may help illustrate better. What if we want to split on something other than white space? new string list equals not minus, my string dot split, and we're going to do it on a lower case e. Print new string list. Let's run the program. Okay, here is the result of my new string list statement. Let's look at our original string and go through it character by character to see what happens. I told Python to split on a small e, a lowercase e. So what did Python do? Python said capital E, not a lowercase, V. Here is a lowercase e. So the first that ends the first element in the list. The first element in the list is the string EV. Now, throw away the E. Remember I said in this other example, in this first example with my string, you throw away the blank spaces. There are no blank spaces in this list anymore. The same thing happens here. With the small e, with the thing you split on, that gets thrown away. Throw away the small e. The next element in the list is ry blank space. We're not splitting on blank space. ONC, and then we get an E. So this is the second list, the second set of characters that are not E. This E gets thrown away. Again, there's no small e in this anywhere. Space IN, space A, space WHIL. Blank spaces. Keep them in. A good thing, and go to this P, throw away this E, and S. The illustration here is that when I say split on the E, when Python takes that string and splits it into list elements, it throws away the character I split on. Now up here, I didn't say what to split on, so by default it split on white space, blanks, and tabs. Those were thrown away. There are no blank spaces in this list. There are blank spaces here. Because I didn't throw away blank spaces, I threw away small e's. So this is how split works. Now join has the opposite. It takes a list of strings and combines them. And here is the syntax. First I need a list. Equals the list of A, B, C, D. And I'm just going to call my new string S equals. Now, join, you have to tell Python what goes between the list of elements in the string. Okay, what goes in between? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, put nothing in between the elements of the string, my list. Okay, what this is going to do is it's going to take that A, B, C, D, run them into a string with nothing between each character. Now I need to make sure I print S. And when I run it, you will see down here that this is the result of line 56 print S. This is the string created by the join with nothing in between the letters. If instead I said T equals a blank space dot join my list, and now I will print T after I fix my typo. When I run this, here's the difference. This is print S, A, B, C, D with nothing in between them. This is print T, A, B, C, D with a blank space in between them. Okay? And I can do this with anything I want in there. I can put a comma in between each element. I can see U equals comma dot join my list print U. And now when I run this program, this is the result of joining with a comma in between. So join is almost the exact opposite of split. It adds new characters in between. Possibly you can you can join with a blank space, but it can add new characters in between the elements of the list, and it combines the elements of the list into a string. Again, only lists of strings. Join only works with lists of strings. Nums equals the list of the integers 1, 2, 3, 4. String equals comma dot join nums print string. When I try to run this, I get an error on this statement right here. You cannot join a list of integers. You can only join a list of strings. This error message, expected string instance int found, says, hey, you tried to join a list of integers. You didn't join a list of strings. You can't do that. Okay? So that's pretty much it. Also in the slides is the strip function, which just gets rid of white space, leading blanks, leading tabs, closing tabs. I'll cover that again. It's not a major issue. Stripping a string just lets it be a little prettier. It gets rid of blank spaces. This is used when users are typing in input. We can get rid of any blank spaces or tabs they type. We don't want them. The syntax is here. We'll get to them later on when they become more important. String splicing we got to know. Other useful things. We mentioned in class on Monday that you can escape characters. Certain things in Python you have to indicate that you want with a special character, a backslash in between them. A \n indicates a new line character. It causes a new line to be printed on the screen. A \t prints a tab. A backslash single quote apostrophe prints makes it an apostrophe. That says I don't want a string delimiter that's a single quote. I want this actually to be an apostrophe. And if you actually need a backslash character itself, you need to double the backslash. Backslash gives you a single backslash. This last thing, if you're using Windows, turns out to be vital because Windows uses the backslash as the path delimiter when you're identifying a file. And so the only way to read in a file path in Python is a backslash. Linux and Mac, it uses a /. What do I mean by that? On Windows, you will see something like the C drive, /users, /arsenal, /data.txt. Okay. The only way to deal with that string in Python is to use backslashes, and you would say C:\\/ users /arsenal /data.txt. The escapes allow Python to read the backslash. Otherwise, if you just look directly at this, Python would try to say, oh, what's a \U character? Or what's a \A character? Or what's a \D character? And you would very simply, very quickly confuse Python. Okay, so that's why the \\/ becomes important. New line, tab, apostrophe, we'll play around with this. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the lecture here. I will make sure this video comes out the way I wanted, and I will go ahead and post it and send a notice.